everybody. This is Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Court number 12. It's all civil. There's no criminal. It's all commerce. It's all business. And once you start getting your head around that, then you can make it go away. A kangaroo court is a term descriptive of a sham legal proceeding in which a person's rights are totally disregarded, in which the result is a foregone conclusion because of the bias of the court or other tribunal. They're nothing but thieves. It's a commercial transaction. When acting to enforce a statute and its subsequent amendments to the present day, the judge of municipal court is acting as an administrative officer, not in a judicial capacity. Courts administering and enforcing statutes do not act judicially, but merely ministerially, but merely act as extensions as an agent for the involved agency. They're bought and paid for clerks. It is accepted rule not only in state courts but the federal courts as well that when a judge is enforcing administrative law, they're described as mere extensions of the administrative agency for superior reviewing purposes. They're bought and paid for clerks. Judges who become involved in enforcement of mere statutes, civil or criminal in nature, act as mere clerks of the involved agency. Oaths. This is Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835 edition, Volume 2, but they're citing Books 3 and 4 of Coke's Institutes on the Laws of England. All oaths must be lawful, allowed by common law or some statute. If they are administered by persons in a private capacity or are not duly authorized, they are quorum non judice and void. So the point being is that all government officials can be in their official capacity or their private capacity. All government employees, judges, police officers, etc., can be in their private capacity or their official capacity. And when they're in their private capacity, an officer who acts in violation of the Constitution ceases to represent the government. If they do anything that's illegal or unconstitutional, they cease to represent the government. They immediately move from their public capacity to their private capacity, and the burden's on you to know what's going on and know what their duties are and are not. A clerk masquerading as a judge is not competent to do anything judicial, like issue orders or warrants. A clerk masquerading as a judge is operating in his private capacity and has no immunity. And I have court cases to support this, but I don't have them here because it would make it longer than it needs to be. Ministerial officers are incompetent to receive grants of judicial power from the legislature. Their acts in attempting to exercise such powers are necessarily nullities. It's a fraud and a nullity. Watch my void judgment video. Brutum fulmen, an empty noise or an empty threat, a judgment, a void upon its face, which is in legal effect no judgment of all, and by which no rights are divested, and from which none can be obtained, and neither binds nor bars anyone. And that's brutum fulmen. Copies of these documents can be found in my private group at Yahoo called Administrating Your Public Servants. For a complete set of YouTube videos with private information shares, a DVD with over 50 searchable law dictionaries and other books and forms, contact me privately at engineerwin@yahoo.com. Donations to support this work are appreciated. I prefer gold or silver coin, but as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept the IOUs, the Federal Reserve notes, the PayPal gifts, the checks, the money orders. Send me an email for particulars. Under international law of warfare, all parties to a cause must appear by nom de guerre because an alien enemy cannot maintain an action during the war in his own name. A mixed war is one which is made on one side by public authority and on the other by a mere private person. So you have to understand that if they're attacking you with a statute, you're a citizen of the District of Columbia, U.S. citizen, and so you're alien to Texas or Arizona or any one of the states of the Union, and so you're an alien enemy, and they're treating you like that, and until you figure that out, until you stand up and say that's enough of that, they're just going to keep walking all over you. They're nothing but a bunch of pirates. This is all coming from the Roman cult. If they spell your name in all block capital letters, they're operating in their private capacity. Civil law, Roman civil law are convertible phrases meaning the same system of jurisprudence, that rule of action which every particular nation, commonwealth, or city has established peculiarly for itself, more properly called municipal law, to distinguish it from the law of nature and from international law. So it's all, they're assaulting you with the civil law. That's exactly what it is, okay? It's all municipal law, civil law. If they're attacking you with a statute, then they're operating in their private capacity. See the martial laws coming from the UN video. See the international laws, a subset of canon law video. See the Roman cult slave scam video. See the slavery equals Roman cult video. See all warfare is commerce and all commerce is warfare video. Every taxpayer is assessed to K trust having sufficient interest in preventing the abuse of the trust to be recognized in the field of this court's prerogative jurisdiction. That's a summary from the Inri Bolins in 1912. And a summary from 5 pages of the Congressional Record on June 13, 1967 says, a citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the Public Charitable Trust, the constructive Sestake Trust of U.S. Inc., under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of the USA and U.S. Inc. And this is all coming from the Roman cult, folks. Yet still it was found difficult to set bounds to ecclesiastical ingenuity. That's the Roman cult, folks. They devised a new when they were driven out of all their former holds, they devised a new method of conveyance by which the lands were granted not to themselves directly, but to nominal fees to the use of the religious houses, thus distinguishing between the possession and the use and receiving the actual profits, while the season of the lands remained in the nominal fee was held by the courts of equity, then under the direction of the clergy. That's the Roman cult, folks, and is still under the direction of the clergy, to be bound in conscience to account to a sestake use for the rents and emoluments of the estate. That's taxes, folks. And it is to these inventions that our practitioners are indebted for the introduction of uses and trusts, the foundation of modern conveyancing. So it was the foundation of modern conveyancing in 1835 in England, and it's still the foundation of modern conveyancing in America today. This is an act to establish a code of law for the District of Columbia, and it's at Chapter 56 and Section 1617, located at 31 Stat 1432. It says the legal estate to be in the sestake use, okay? And this is more DC Code, which was approved March 3rd, 1901, at 31 Stat 1189, at 2, which is right up in the very front, Section 2. And be it further enacted that in the interpretation and construction of said code, the following rules shall be observed, namely the word person shall be held to apply to partnerships and corporations. And more DC Code, talking about the presumption of death, located at 31 Stat 1230. They can presume that you're dead, okay? That just presume you're the Sestake Trust. And this is where it's codified. At Title 15, United States Code, Section 44. Actually, it should be more properly termed District of Columbia Code. Anyways, corporation shall be deemed to include any company, trust, so-called Massachusetts Trust or Association, incorporated or unincorporated, which is organized to carry on business for its own profit or that of its members, and has shares of capital or capital stock or certificates of interest, and it goes through the exact same definition, except it does not have shares of capital or capital stock or certificates of interest. And that definitely would include Sestake trusts, among others. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow me on vid.me. Don't forget to follow me on Steemit. And don't forget to like this video on YouTube. Don't forget to click the bell next to the subscribe button so that you're notified when you have a new upload. On vid.me, don't forget to upvote this video. And on Steemit, don't forget to vote and make your comments. There's the front page of my channel, and the arrow is pointing at the bell. When you click on the bell, it'll show that it's vibrating and make it look like it's vibrating. Anyways, that means you'll be notified. This is Steemit. The left arrow is where you upvote the video or article. The center arrow is how many votes it's got, and the right arrow is how you can make comments. And this is also Steemit, a profile called Crypto Wallet. You click on the profile and the window comes down where you can follow and unfollow somebody. Anyway, so let's get back to the topic at hand. Did you give up your God-given rights for some satanic privileges? But individuals, when acting as representatives of a collective group, cannot be said to be exercising their personal rights and duties, nor be entitled to purely personal privileges. Rather, they assume the rights, duties, and privileges of the artificial entity or association of which they are agents or officers, and they are bound by its obligations. And that's Braswell versus United States, quoting United States versus White. And this is the Uniform Commercial Code. Whenever this title creates a presumption with respect to a fact or provides that a fact is presumed, the trier of fact must find the existence of the fact unless and until evidence is introduced that supports a finding of its non-existence. Okay, so they're going to make a bunch of presumptions. The Uniform Commercial Code, it's all business, it's all commerce, it's all contracts. Okay, it has nothing to do, there's nothing criminal. It's all, matter of fact, the best that they'll tell you is it's quasi-criminal. In an action with respect to an instrument, the authenticity of and authority to make each signature on the instrument are admitted, unless specifically denied in the pleadings. If the validity of a signature is denied in the pleadings, the burden of establishing validity on the person claiming validity is on the person claiming validity. So the point is that that's a presumption. That's where they're saying this is a presumption. So they forge your signature onto a contract and presume it's a valid contract. And then on top of that, these rules, the following rules apply in an action on a certificated security against the issuer. So they sell it on Wall Street. There's people that have found their criminal cases worth millions of dollars at Fidelity Investments. Unless specifically denied in the pleadings, each signature on a security certificate or a necessary endorsement is admitted. So again, this is all about business, okay? There's more. If they're assaulting you with the Uniform Commercial Code, they're operating in their private capacity. Announcing a subscription-based YouTube channel called Sovereignty International. The recommended cost of the subscription is currently $1.99 because it avoids the advertising only. But if you like my work, it can be a donation. The only power that these New World Order Satanists have over us is through fraud and deception, and my agenda is to expose it for all our benefit. But I cannot fight all the battles. A $1.99 donation is certainly a modest donation, but it's appreciated, and everybody, a whole bunch of people chipping in a small amount, it adds up pretty fast. Anyways, I'm currently publishing one video a week. My YouTube channel, the URL is below. Some people had trouble finding my YouTube channel, so there's the link to the channel. Some of the exclusive content is Arlington Private Information Share, Land Deed Training, Estoppel Certificates Training, Foreclosure Estoppel Certificates Training, Corporate Denial Training, Toll Roads Notice and Demand Training, Invoice Training, Notice of Void Judgment Training, Revocation of Signature Training, and Third Party Witness Training. Also got Federal Habeas Corpus Training, Revocation of Voter Registration Training, Criminal Complaint Training, Lawsuit Training, and there'll be, there's coming up as some lawsuit training, some more criminal complaint training, and some other training depending on requests. Now, everything that is needed to free yourself is available on my free YouTube channel, Sovereign Living. The stuff that's on here is really if you need some extra special babysitting and you don't want to give me a donation that I would require for extra babysitting, then this is a way that you can get it at less expensive cost. And all forms, files, and other instructions are available for free on my 2 private groups at Yahoo Groups and Google Groups. And so it's all available for free. Everything you need is for free on my free channel and on my groups. This is the front page of the channel. The top arrow is pointing at the URL so that you can type that in if you have trouble finding it. And then the bottom arrow is pointing at the Start Free Trial button, because some people actually sent me a $1.99 donation, and I didn't know if it was a donation, if they wanted me to sign them up. And I have absolutely no control over subscribers. I can't even see all the subscribers. So if you want to sign up, you got to sign up. I sent them an email and they didn't respond, so I guess that meant it was a donation. And because I offered to refund it. So anyways, if you want to sign up, you got to click on that Start Free Trial button. Now, YouTube is determined to commit suicide. YouTube has notified me that on 1st of December, my fee-based subscription channel will be terminated because they don't want any competition for their YouTube Red or their YouTube TV. And so I'm actually building a case against them. They've been ruining my monetization and demonetizing all sorts of videos. And then it turns out that after a review, then they're all okay. And so... so they're going to get sued, but meanwhile, they're probably going to shut this channel down, which, that's whatever. But all of the exclusive content that's on there will be on my vid.me channel. And so you'll be able to find it at this URL right here, vid.me/Sovereignty International. So if anybody wants the exclusive content, you can find it there. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. These Roman cult Satanist bar member whores masquerading as a judge forges your signature onto a contract and then presumes it's authorized and authentic. And who's going to call a judge a liar? That's how they're populating the prison. Carl Lentz brought up the issue of forgery against CPS when they stole his son in his successful one-page lawsuit. See the Judicial Whores video. Did you give up your God-given rights for some satanic privileges? He, the prisoner, has, as a consequence of his crime, not only forfeited his liberty, but all his personal rights except those which the law in its humanity affords him. He is, for the time being, a slave of the state. If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die. Thou shalt put evil away from among you. And that's what needs to happen to these Satanists. They need to be put to death, and as long as we don't, then we as a nation are under condemnation, and we're going to reap the judgments of God. I think that started, although, maybe Trump is going to put it off for a while. I guess we'll see. But the bottom line is that these people are Satanists, and that's the first order of business, is they got to get rid of that nasty little common law problem. This is the 13th Amendment, the current 13th Amendment, and it basically is a license, legalized slavery. It says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, and so shall exist in the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. So the point being is that this is the license to legalize slavery. Okay, all they got to do is fabricate some charges. They make up the crimes. Congress, at common law, there are no common law crimes in the federal jurisdiction. We're going to cover that in a minute. So they're all statutory. So they just make them up as they go along. That's all they have to do. All judges are actually clerks masquerading as judges. They're bail priests. Their black robe is their bail priest uniform. They routinely deny anything related to justice from happening because it's so good for business. They encourage their false flag operations and agent provocateurs because it's so good for business. They encourage police state murders, assaults, kidnappings, and thefts because it's so good for business. Everything they do is a fraud and a lie. They're Satanists. My blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email address is engineerwin@yahoo.com. My YouTube profiles, I've got two of them currently, Sovereign Living and Sovereignty International. My Facebook community page, it was deleted due to censorship on the part of Facebook. My private group called Sovereignty International is being deleted. It takes time to ban 17,000 people off your group, and I'm not going to let Facebook profit from my hard work. My Yahoo private group is called Administrating Your Public Servants, and my Google private group is called Administrating Your Public Servants. Follow me on Twitter at EngineerWin. Follow me on vid.me. Follow me on Steemit. So there are no common law offenses against the United States, only those acts which Congress has forbidden with penalties for disobedience of its crimes. Well, statutes. The judge is a bought and paid for clerk masquerading as a judge. It's all commerce. And in Texas, it's the same thing. In Texas law, no act or omission is a crime unless made so by statute. The legislature may create an offense and the same enactment provide exceptions to its application. Statutes only. Clerks masquerading as judges. It's all commerce. Everything is an admiralty. A writ of error doth not lie upon a sentence in admiralty, but an appeal. This is Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835 edition, under the definition of admiralty, but it's citing Book 4 on Coke, on his Book 4 on the Institutes and the Laws of England, and so that goes back to the 1500s. Appeals are an admiralty. It's called a court of appeals. That's why it's called a court of appeals. It's the same thing. This is exactly the same thing that precipitated the War of Independence, and I go into that in other videos. Check out my other videos: Bankster Thieves Playlist, Roman Cult Playlist, Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, Bar Members 1 through 3, Do-It-Yourself, How Not to Volunteer for the Selected Service in the Draft, Martial Laws Here, Do-It-Yourself, No Income Tax, Do-It-Yourself, Free Mail, Do-It-Yourself, Kangaroo Courts 1 through 12 now. Canada Border Pigs Playlist, Bar Members and Their Satanic Connections Playlist, and the U.S. Border Pigs Playlist that's not even listed here. Governments descend to the level of a mere private corporation and take on the characteristics of a private citizen where private corporate commercial paper, Federal Reserve notes, and securities checks is concerned. For purposes of suits, such corporations and individuals are regarded as entities entirely separate from government. So whenever you're dealing with Federal Reserve notes, you don't have any, you're not the king. Okay, there's no such thing as a king in sovereign and in commerce. There's no such thing as a sovereign in commerce. Two national governments exist, one to be maintained under the Constitution with all its restrictions, the other to be maintained by Congress outside and independently of that instrument, and that's the U.S. Supreme Court in 1901. Downs versus Bidwell. Now, think about it. What they're saying is that one of them, the unconstitutional one, is the D.C. Corporation's an unconstitutional corporation, and then the first corporation has all its restrictions, and you can be under one or the other, and it's all by way of contract. It's all about business, okay? So they just assault you with one of their contracts, and so which government are you under? Do you know who you are? And this is Chisholm versus Georgia, 1794. And a state does not owe its origin to the government of the United States in the highest or any of its branches. It was in existence before it. It derives its authority from the same pure and sacred source as itself, the voluntary or deliberate choice of the people. The state is altogether exempt from the jurisdiction of the courts of the United States or from any other exterior authority, unless in special instances where the general government has power derived from the Constitution itself. The question to be determined is whether this state, so respectable and whose claims soar so high, is amenable to the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of the United States. This question, important in itself, will depend on others, more important still, and may perhaps be ultimately resolved into one, no less radical than this: do the people of the United States form a nation? By that law, the several states and governments spread over the world are considered as forming a society, not a nation. Okay, and that caps is in the original. So the point being is in 1794, there was no nations on this planet. It was all corporations in business. It's all commerce. I mean, think about all the wars that they were doing, okay? There was 100 Years' War. There was 30 Years' Wars. There was all sorts. It's all business, okay? That's all business. Everything they do is a fraud. The U.S. citizen's a fraud. Commercial paper's a fraud. All mortgages are a fraud. They get you to participate in their fraud. Then they assault you with one of their so-called contracts, and they sell you into slavery. Everybody in prison was sold into slavery. And penal code, okay? There's a Texas penal code, and many other states have penal codes, and even if it's just called a criminal code, I guarantee you you look and start reading through it, and it'll be talking about how it is penal. So let's find out what a penal has to do with a penal action, okay? A penal action is an action on a penal statute, an action for recovery of penalty given by statute. Where an action is founded entirely upon a statute and the only object of it is to recover a penalty or forfeiture, such action is a penal action. The words penal and penalty in their strict and primary sense denote a punishment, whether corporal or pecuniary, imposed and enforced by the state for a crime or offense against its laws. The noun penalty is defined forfeiture to be forfeited for non-compliance with an agreement. There's no criminal cases. It's all, even in the penal stuff. That's why the bail priest sitting up at the front, when you nail him down, you ask him if this is criminal, the nature of this case, and he'll tell you it's quasi-criminal, okay? It's a contract. The words forfeit and penalty are substantially synonymous. A penal action is one founded entirely on statute and brought with the sole object of recovering a penalty or forfeiture imposed as punishment for a specific offense, while remedial action is one brought to obtain compensation or indemnity. A penal action is a civil suit brought for the recovery of a statutory forfeiture when inflicted as punishment for an offense against the public. Such actions are civil actions on the one hand, closely related to criminal prosecutions on the other, to actions for private injuries in which the party aggrieved may by statute recover punitive damages, okay? There are no criminal prosecutions, okay? It's all civil. okay? These people are nothing but a bunch of thieves and pirates. There is no such thing as a criminal prosecution. They'll sit there and call it that. They want to deceive you. They want you to think it is, but it's really a civil suit. That's why it's called Texas Penal Code, okay? And even in the other codes, okay, it's all penal. It's all penalties. And I don't care what state you're in. You go look in Arizona statutes or any other state. And in the Criminal Code of Canada, okay, it talks about being penal. And so it's all about penal, okay? It's all about contracts. These pigs assault you with one of their so-called contracts, and they drag you into their show trial in their kangaroo court, and the sooner we the people figure this out, the better. Anyways, that's it. That's all there is to this one. It's a short one again. Thanks for watching. Have a